Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining in with us today on the final mile to ELD, tips for a successful transition from AOBRD to ELD. My name is Kyler Ford, and I'm the Vice President of Sales at Maven Machines, and I'm lucky to be here today with Rich Marmura, our Product Manager and Head of Fleet and Safety Solutions here today. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thanks, Rich.
It's a pleasure.
Rich, we're really excited today to kind of take everyone through kind of an overview of everything related to AOBRD as it transitions to ELD here in this upcoming December. And we're going to go through a question and answer format where we're excited to learn about the different phases and different key functions and features that are going to be required of these fleet as they move forward. So really to kick things off, since we're here to talk about ELD today, let's start with why we should care about hours of service rules.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of reasons we should be caring about these hours of service rules, but the number one thing that the reason is safety, specifically reducing CMV driver drowsiness. That can lead to crashes, injuries, and fatalities. Hours of service rules, as we know them, they've been around for about 80 years now, and we're now, in that next generation of those rules.
And you're right. Everyone knows about hours of service who's running a fleet. Tell us, what is the ELD mandate specifically?
Sure, that's a great question. That's a perfect place to start. So about 6 years ago, Congress passed a Safety Enhancement Act amid ongoing debates about ELD, which at the time was also being referred to as EOBR. The act required that the Secretary of Transportation adopt specific ELD regulations. To meet the requirement, the FMCSA amended the hours of service regulations in 2015. Not only was safety part of the goal of the rules, but also reducing carrier and driver paperwork, which the FMCSA estimated could save drivers about $700.
Wow, that's incredible. Before I ask you the specific requirements, can you let us know who has to follow these ELD rules?
Sure. So most CMV drivers using public roadways or areas are subject to the FMCSA rules. But it's important to remember that intrastate drivers are subject to comparable state regulations. It's also important to realize that it isn't just the driver who's responsible for hours of service, it's also the carrier. The guide we are publishing will get to these exemptions and give you some more details.
Perfect. So can you explain the phases of ELD and where we are today and before getting into that? Go ahead.
Sure. So part of the requirement of the 2012 Act was to have the FMCSA ruling implemented within 2 years of its publication. So in 2015, the ruling was published. At that time, you had a lot of choices about how you could track your hours of service. You could do ELD, AOBRD, you could do logging software, which didn't even have to follow the AOBRD hours of service requirements, and of course, trusty old paper logs.
So what happened during the next phase?
Sure. So in December of 2017, those who didn't fall under the AOBRD grandfather clause had to start using ELDs. The grace period is ending for those who fell under that grandfather clause. So, that's where we are today. One of the questions that we keep hearing from drivers who work with a carrier with mixed devices, meaning AOBRD and ELD, is, how do you even know what you're using? So a quick answer to that is that if you can edit your drive time, not your drive line, then you are not using an ELD.
Can you explain, just for the folks out there who may be unfamiliar, can you explain the grandfather clause just a little bit further?
Sure. So this December is when the third phase of the ELD regulations become effective. If drivers, when the second phase came into effect, were using an AOBRD, then they could continue to use the device until this December of 2019. There are differences between the legal requirements of the two devices, and it's important to keep in mind that when a software vendor is selling an AOBRD or an ELD, what they are offering can and often does exceed the requirements from the FMCSA's rules. That's what can be pretty confusing for drivers and carriers to understand what the change will actually mean to them. This table gives you a high-level understanding of the technical differences between the FMCSA's requirements. So simply put, under the new rules, drivers and carriers are responsible for every second a vehicle is in motion with a driver. So there's no more rounding, no more unassigned drive times. The other major goal was to improve the readability of logs and also improve the transfer of that data from the device to the inspectors.
So what should a carrier and a driver worry about if they're switching from an AOBRD to an ELD device?
So probably what weighs most on the minds of drivers and carriers are the 22 new violations and the inability to edit their drive time. We have a guide that we'll be publishing that'll give you a little bit more detail about those violations. So drivers should refocus from their drive time to their drive line. The drive line, which shows their duty status within their cycle, meaning all of the time that a vehicle is in motion when they are logged in, has to be assigned to some sort of duty status. This means that unassigned drive time, such as a mechanic moving a truck, that has to be accounted for. Drivers and carriers should understand when and how to use duty statuses, such as yard moves or personal conveyance. Drivers should also understand their company's internal policies, which may limit their use of personal conveyance. Another big difference is that drivers have to certify their logs and changes. That's really in an effort to increase accountability.
Yeah, there is a lot of accountability both for the driver and the manager. Can you go over some of the changes in this accountability?
Sure. So the new violations can result in citations, and they can put a driver out of service. The business side of this is having a load delayed and issues with your customers. And a carrier's CSA score also means that they can't market themselves as well to potential customers. Carriers, they can also be held accountable. They can be exposed to fines, and in extreme cases, carrier officials have actually received jail sentences. So drivers are responsible for their logs, and carriers are responsible for training and monitoring drivers to ensure their compliance.
We want to always make sure we're helping to protect our clients. What are some tips to help protect these fleets with their hours of service?
Sure. So being accountable, just be accountable for every second. That's the number one thing we tell everyone. Be accountable for your time. I know this means that the relationship between managers and drivers may have to change in terms of expectations and in terms of edits. Also, carriers will have to look at their training and monitoring programs. This includes training drivers on how to use the ELD inspector mode and transfer their logs. It also includes what drivers should do if their ELD malfunctions. Under the regulation, drivers must keep 7 blank paper log sheets in their truck. Drivers should also get used to filling out information when prompted by the ELD. Drivers should get used to checking their logs before they get out of the truck and before they start their day to make sure that the right hours are assigned to them. And drivers should be aware of the company's policies for use of the truck for personal conveyance. Also, drivers need to certify their logs every 24 hours. This is one of the most important points we can make. Again, we're publishing a quick start guide to help to highlight the parts of this regulation. We hope the quick start guide and the transition guide will help you to prepare for the change and make you confident about what you need to think of during this period.
So there's a lot of information there, Rich, and I think what we want to go back to and make sure everyone's aware of is really how do you pick an ELD?
Sure. I mean, of course, I'm a little biased towards a certain ELD, but when you're looking for an ELD, the number one thing that you want to look for is make sure it's approved by the FMCSA. If you're going to go through this change and take the time and spend the money to do this, you want to make sure first and foremost that the provider that you choose understands the law and meets the requirements that it has set. And then the next thing you really want to understand is what's most important to you. This might include ease of install. Some ELDs are easier to install than others. And then you want to find someone that has really good customer support. A high quality, well put together ELD, you should very rarely have to talk to customer support. It should be very intuitive. It should be very easy to use. But on those times that something goes wrong, you want to make sure they have great people behind the scenes that can help you solve your problem so you can get back to what you actually want to be doing, driving.
Absolutely. And to add to Rich, you really want to find a partner in this process, right? There's going to be installed equipment. There's going to be equipment that's going to need to be removed. It's going to take some time. There's going to be some training that needs to take place. So to add on to what you said, you really need to find someone who not only checks all the boxes in terms of compliance and customer service, but someone who understands your business and understands how to deploy that in the most effective way. I can't emphasize that enough. But so I think it's important now to really move into some FAQs and some guidance that we get from the FMCSA. We picked a couple questions and topics that we think are important, and we'll have more of these included in the transition guide. But let's start with, what are some examples? This comes up a lot, Rich, with fleets that I talk to. What are examples of personal conveyance?
Sure. So I can give you a few examples of that. So time spent traveling from a driver's en route lodging, such as, like a motel or a truck stop, to restaurants and entertainment facilities. That's personal conveyance. Then there's commuting between the driver's terminal and his or her residence, between a trailer drop lots and the driver's residence, or between work sites and his or her residence. In these scenarios, the commuting distance combined with the release from work and start to work times must allow the driver enough time to obtain the required restorative rest as to ensure that the driver is not fatigued. Another example could be time spent traveling to a nearby, reasonable, safe location to obtain that required rest. You could move a CMV at the request of a safety official during a driver's off-duty time. Also, time spent transporting personal property while off-duty. Some drivers are doing that. Authorized use of a CMV to travel home after working in an off-site location. All of these are examples, and there's even more.
Wow. Let's go to one more other topic here. Question: what must a driver do if an ELD malfunctions? How do they go about handling that?
Sure. So the first thing you want to remember in case of an ELD malfunction is you want to talk with your carrier. Every carrier is going to have a different policy for what to do here, but there are some overarching basics that you have to keep in mind. So first, note the malfunction of the ELD and provide written notice of the malfunction to the motor carrier, and you want to do that within 24 hours. Next, you want to reconstruct the record of duty status for the current 24-hour period and the previous 7 consecutive days, and record the records of duty status on GraphGrid, paper logs, or other electronic logging software. These have to comply with regulations, unless the driver already has the record or retrieves them from the ELD. And then finally, continue to manually prepare rods in accordance with the regulations until the ELD is serviced and back within compliance. The recording of a driver's hours of service on paper logs or electronic logging software cannot continue for more than 8 days after the malfunction. A driver that continues to record his or her hours of service on a paper log beyond 8 days risk of being placed out of service.
So can drivers make changes after they've already accepted edits? I know that is a question that comes up all the time now that they have to be involved in this process. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. That, like you said, we get that question a lot. So a driver can edit their record after erroneously accepting a driving event that was originally recorded under, that unidentified driver profile. The ELD must prompt the driver to annotate those edits. In addition, the carrier can also suggest the edit, which can be routed to the driver for confirmation. Again, this really goes to accountability.
Absolutely. And I think another question that is really important that we answer is, how do you present driver rods during a roadside inspection when, for example, working for multiple carriers?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the driver can there's a few options here. So you can either print out their hours of service from the motor carrier. You can also, if you're operating with a compatible ELD device between those carriers, the ELD data can be transferred between the carriers, but the driver has to give approval. Again, this is for the driver's protection. You can also just manually add the hours of service while operating that motor carrier into the current ELD using the editing and annotation functions that we were just talking about within the ELD.
Rich, I think all of these are essentially important, and there's more to it than this, and we're super excited for you to spend some time today to take us through that. And for those of you who are on the line today looking for more tips, we're going to be recording new tips every week in our webinars, going through trying to answer these questions and help you transition from an AOBRD into ELD in the next several months. And we encourage you to reach out directly to us with additional questions and questions around our software as we try to help as many fleets from one truck to thousands of trucks make this transition over the next several months. We appreciate you logging in with us today, and we look forward to talking with you more here in the near future. Rich, thank you very much for your help.
It's a pleasure. We look forward to talking to you all soon.